Welcome back. A presumptive Democrat nominee Kamala Harris's foreign policy record only offers hints of how she may handle the China threat if elected president. The Wall Street Journal writing, quote, over almost 8 years as a senator and vice president, Harris has offered only fleeting glimpses of how she would put her mark on America's tense relationship with China. As president, China strategy is among the big questions about Harris's foreign policy priorities as she races into a general election against former President Trump, whose vows to step up trade pressure on Beijing are hallmark of his campaign. Joining me now is Gatestone Institute senior fellow, author of The Coming Collapse of China and China is Going to War, Gordon Chang. Gordon, great to see you. Thanks so much for being here. What is your sense of Kamala Harris's approach to China?
Well, we only have fleeting glimpses because she's not really that interested. We know that from Seymour Hersh's reporting that she ordered the Office of the Director of National Intelligence not to deliver to her the president's daily brief. That's the morning intelligence briefing that the president gets every single morning.
Why did she say don't deliver it? I don't understand.
Because I guess she's just not that interested in it.
Wow.
Which means that if she's going to get that 3 a.m. proverbial call, you know, the one of a crisis someplace in the world, she's not going to know how to answer it. I mean, she has been just mouthing talking points. There are no talking points for a 3 a.m. call. And by the way, there will be a 3 a.m. call early in her presidency because China almost always tests a new American president.
Interesting that they would test her. How would they test her? I mean, today marks the 96th anniversary of China's People Liberation Army. They're celebrating there in Beijing. Chinese President Xi Jinping is calling to build a stronger border, stronger sea and air defenses to protect the country's sovereignty and maritime interests. Now, you say Xi is really calling to seize territory that he thinks is China's, like Taiwan and parts of Philippines. Tell us about that.
Well, no country challenges China's recognized borders. So when he says that his borders are under threat, what he's really talking about are the borders that nobody else recognizes, like his claim to 85% of the South China Sea is blue national soil, his claim to Taiwan, his claim to Japanese islands, his claim to large parts of northern India, including the entire province of Arunachal Pradesh. So really, this is a guy who believes that China should be much larger than it is today. And by the way, for all this century, he has been repeating these Tianxia themes, all under heaven, which means that China is the world's only legitimate ruler. And since 2017, Chinese officials have been talking about the moon and Mars as sovereign Chinese territory. So that's what Xi Jinping is talking about when he says we got to protect our borders. He's talking about a borderless world, which is all Chinese.
You know, it's interesting because China has been so focused on their military. I mean, today, the anniversary of the PLA, and that's where they're celebrating. And that's why they've done so well in terms of pushing up a conflict potentially with the United States. What are we doing here? I spoke with Senator Joni Ernst on Sunday about the fact that the military has been depleted here because of declines in military spending. Here's what the senator told me. Watch.
You look at the last 3.5 or so years under Biden-Harris, and they have severely limited what our military can do. The Democrats have demanded equal spending for domestic projects like the Inflation Reduction Act instead of building up our military and our defense industrial base. Harris will continue with that wokeism in the military rather than ensuring that they are the strongest military on the face of the planet.
Now we've got this new report, Gordon. The U.S. may lose a potential future conflict with Russia and China, according to this new report from the Commission on National Defense Strategy. The commission writes that the security environment is at its most dangerous since World War II, and that the U.S. is not prepared for another global conflict. China, meanwhile, is, quote, outpacing the United States and has largely negated the U.S.'s military advantage in the Western Pacific through 2 decades of focused military investment. The commission warns, quote, without significant changes by the United States, the balance of power will continue to shift in China's favor. Gordon, this is very frightening, and I don't know that you're even hearing the Democrat Party even talk about this. I mean, is this even an issue on the campaign trail? I don't hear any conversation about this.
Yeah, there's no conversation about this. You know, at the end of the Cold War, we had a doctrine of basically being able to fight 2 major wars and a minor insurgency. Now, we can't fight even 1 major war. We have a military which is underinvested during the Biden years because budgets have been going down when you take into account inflation. You've got, and they're not training war fighting, they're training DEI. I mean, we've got a Navy which is just in calamitous condition. Air Force lacks management. The only branch of the U.S. military that's doing well is the Marine Corps, and they are not going to be a major factor in a war with China.
Yeah, this is really concerning. Your reaction. I mean, China wants to overtake the United States as the #1 superpower, and they're on a path to do so.
Yeah, no, it's very frightening, Gordon. I mean, this new axis of evil we're seeing with China and the other adversaries that we have. I mean, my question is, I think a lot of Americans feel like this current administration, now that, Biden has stepped down from running again and declaring himself effectively, not at all in politics, he's an empty vessel. And I think our foreign foes see that. Do you believe that this the situation in our government right now is kind of enticing our enemies like China to kind of ramp up escalation?
Even before Biden checked out, you had 4 years of peace under Trump, and then starting with the catastrophic withdrawal of Afghanistan, you had the world in flame. Xi Jinping is under a desperate condition at home. He has a lot of domestic incentives to cause problems abroad. It could be Taiwan, could be Philippines, wherever. But the point is they do sense this weakness, and that's why the world, I think, we're seeing bad actors take advantage of this. Right now the Middle East is just in terrible condition, and that's largely because of Biden. Remember, Trump had the most successful Middle East policy of any American president since FDR.
Yeah.
Biden has had the worst.
All right, Gordon, we will leave it there. Great analysis from you as always. Thank you so much, Gordon Chang.